Namaste, my dear friends. Today I have an interesting topic and a question. Do you know how to connect with your higher self? Do you know what it is? So today I want to underline the importance. How come doing your daily practices, connecting and focusing on your higher self is so important and they can change your life so dramatically. So let's go. First of all, it's very important to understand what is the higher self. So eventually, our soul, it is being here manifested through the opportunity to be present in this physical body. But who has created the soul? Everybody says it's God. On one hand, that is correct. But at the same time, it's a lot more complex level and structure in understanding how God has created our soul in this physical realm. And on this topic, there are many spiritual practitioners and many people and souls who try to understand in details how does it work. And eventually it turned out to be that between God, Creator, and our souls, there is a very, very, very important middle part. And this middle part, in spiritual practice and by masters, we call it the higher self. So imagine that God has created a higher self, such a form of godly energy, which is part of it, but independent, which can now create souls. I like to make an example that imagine we have a God creator, yeah? And then he made us as humans. And we as humans, we sit down to play sometimes games at a computer. So once we sit down, play a game, what we do? We find a game that we like and then we make a character. When we make a character, we go with that character and experience that game through that specific character. So if we want, we can go back and create another character in that game and go and play with that character. And then we can make another one and another one. So exactly, you can say that the higher self, it's like us who would be sitting at the computer who has the capacity of making and creating souls. So every soul places in a specific character, and all of the souls are connected with the main person, player, who is sitting at the computer. So the person sitting at the physical computer in our lives, that's us. And in the whole structure of life, that is the higher self. So the higher self, he is like a professional gamer in life, who likes to study life, discover it, and who has his own personal goals and aims and tasks. Higher self already knows how this life works and what are the laws, what are the limits, what are the things that we have to take in accountance to succeed here. So eventually the higher self for that reason can create for itself different characters, different avatars, different souls that would live in different bodies and fulfill different tasks or life paths or path of dharma. So that's why every character inside of this game, every human, is very special because he fulfills his personal spiritual mission that through his personal experience, this knowledge will be passed on through the soul, even to the higher self. And through the higher self and the soul, the spirit can see what is happening here, as everything is happening inside of him, in him, and with him at the same time. For the mind, it's sometimes hard to get this perception of reality, but at the same time, thanks to modern computer games and technologies, we have already a more expanded mindset in which we can understand deeper and deeper the reflection of the structure of life in the structure that we are creating games. So as a result, what do we do next? We know that we have the higher self. How to now to connect with our soul and with our physical bodies with it. And this is already a long path, a path of practices. It's the same as, if you want to go and climb Mount Everest or you want to go and swim for, let's say, 50 kilometers nonstop or 100, you have to know that you have to train. And this training, it takes time. This time in this training of connecting with your higher self can be compared as a training in this physical realm only through spiritual practices. So eventually, every time when a person is doing spiritual practices, he's kind of step by step preparing himself to meet, first of all, not with God, but with higher self. So why not with God? Why cannot humans just go and quickly connect with God from this physical realm? And the answer is profound, on which humans don't think. It's who. Why do you think that if you see God in its whole appearance, that she will look the way that you imagine? Why you're so confident that everything will be so beautiful and easy? Can you take in consideration that God is so beyond whatever we can imagine, has so much power, so much beauty, so much greatness, so much strength, that if we would see God in the purest form, we literally could be eradicated. Our minds would definitely explode because we won't be able to handle it. Our minds are not created to see such spiritual beauty. So as a result, so the avatar, and you can say the soul, wouldn't overheat or maybe self-destroy themselves if they would see the true essence. There is a very smooth pattern on how we're coming there. And first of all, the spiritual practice help us to connect with a higher self. You develop your physical, emotional, mental body, then you do your spiritual practices starting from meditation, going anything connected with your consciousness, uniting with God. These are the things which with every practice helps you to make this small step there. And once you're ready, once you have trained yourself nicely enough, you will have an unbelievable opportunity to experience something what people would call enlightenment or awakening. You know, there are moments when people on their spiritual path, they become so awake, they start to see, they start to feel, they get a transcendent experience, which it's even hard to express what they have experienced. But it totally changes their life set and perception, as simply they finally got the experience of which they were only reading about. But to get this blessing, to experience it, first you have to prove yourself. What means prove yourself? You have to train yourself. You know, like in a computer game, grind the experience, grind your levels. This will be the fundament thanks to which you will be able to hold yourself down when the awakening will start to happen. So you wouldn't lose yourself. You wouldn't go crazy. You'll be you'll be able to ground yourself, integrate this knowledge, use it for the benefit of yourself and others. So all of this process and all of the spirituality between our soul and our spirit is mostly connected through the higher self. Of course, there are some details that some souls might be created directly by God, and there are some other things that we can discover, but the aspect of connecting with the higher self, if you understand it, this is what can give you such a unbelievable fundament of understanding how your consciousness works and everything around you works, and also how it works interdimensionally, as eventually the past and the future are all gathered in the present, and our consciousness has the opportunity of changing the past. How can we change the past? By our perception, making new conclusions and visions and understanding. By doing it, we change how we feel currently. Through the integration of the lessons, our future changes because we won't carry that energy which was inside of us, and that would manifest to us the same hardness and fight. As eventually what we have inside, that is what we get outside. If we feel inside and we have transformed our energy into feeling good, calm, peaceful, and loving, eventually life will show us a loving, caring, supportive way of guiding. So this is how so superly everything is interconnected. So if to speak practically, what can we do to connect with our higher self? This is, I'll tell you two simple practices, which, well, they simply work. Everything works if you act. So one of them is, if you are in a moment in life that you don't know what to do and you're stuck and you feel that there's no way out, then you can truly just start to ask talking with your higher self and saying, please guide me, please lead me to clarity, lead me to love, lead me to that for what I came here for, guide me to the essence of my soul and my fulfillment. Please, higher self, I fully trust you. Lead the way. I will follow whatever you say. So when we, from this avatar, are conscious enough that we have problems and issues and that we're actually willing to change them and transform them, but we don't know how, we make a request to our higher self. And through this, the higher self, it can hear our request and it can lead a hand. In other words, even this avatar, our body has its own freedom. This is actually such a free game that where you use your freedom or you're enslaved. That's why the majority of humans in their bodies, they're enslaved. And they don't know what to do and how to escape this enslavement. So that's why even by requesting by your higher self support, guiding, protection, you will get an extra opportunity to reach you the hand. Because there are some avatars which are living in self-destruction, creating karma, and blah, blah, blah. And they think it's normal. They don't ask for help. And if you don't ask for help, well, you'll just deal later on with everything that you have created. Remember, karma doesn't disappear. It doesn't matter what people tell you, you will still carry your karma after your death. And even if somebody does some magic and put away your karma, trust me, in the perception of God's vision, it's simply impossible. But for the small minds of people or beings that hope to fool reality, of course you can do it. But just be confident that in the future you'll still pay a price. So that's why, best of all, you don't know what to do, you want help, ask your higher self. Your higher self is one of the closest connected with spirit. You can ask God, but at the same time, when you ask your higher self, that's like your personal reflection of God that is already with you and that is on the highest level of interest in taking care of you. Because you know, when you created a character inside of the game, you take care of your character. And notice an important thing, that which character you like to play in a computer game. Imagine you have 12, 20, 30, 100 characters. But eventually, we would play one character, or maybe two or three, which are the strongest, the most developed, with the highest level. The ones through which when we go inside, we can fully fulfill ourselves and our practices or the things we want to do inside of the game. And it's possible for the higher self to come down to a human being only when its physical, emotional, and mental bodies are prepared, when the spiritual body is developed, and the avatar doesn't have karma. Let's say it doesn't have so much dirtiness inside. Because if this higher self would come, this dirt can literally destroy the human body, because the energy frequencies will have a certain effect and reflection in this physical realm. So for the safety of the humans and the avatars, the higher self doesn't come down. It comes down very rarely. It's very hard to find people who have a connection with higher self, because for that you need to do a huge amount of work. And in the past, sometimes it took me like a year to find one person. Now I have many friends and people around me who are on the path and who have the connection with the higher self. But just know it's not something that is very spread out, but by spiritual practitioners for sure. So request help by your higher self. And secondly, I made a separate video, and you can find it, about meditation and connection with higher self. So another thing what I can highly recommend to do is every day to find a time to sit down and literally to meditate. And in this meditation, I recommend you to, first of all, to go to your soul and heart, and through this connection to move up and to ask your higher self for the connection, so you could rise up with your consciousness out of your body experience, which would connect you with your higher realms. It takes, again, time. You know, when you're coming to a gym where you're just starting to swim or something, you have to train before you can get big weights, or you need to practice a lot of swimming before you will feel comfortable to swim for a kilometer. But eventually, that's the path. The sooner you start, the sooner you can open this channel. The moment you open this channel, you become super independent, super efficient, and at the same time, you get the opportunity to solve your own issues without asking for anybody of help. Of course you can, but you will have the tools to sort out your own problems without relying on others, relying on the system, and relying on other specialists. As your higher self is much more wiser, it knows everything much more clear than any human in this physical realm. So, putting everything in perspective, if you want to follow your spiritual path, if you want to fulfill your dharma, if you want to discover the real reality, focus on your soul. Through your soul, ask for the connection with your higher self, develop a relationship with your higher self, clean your body, physical, emotional, mental, develop your spiritual body so the higher self could come here. And then now once you have it, you can have the opportunity of coming out into kind of the control panel from which you can have the control of your physical, emotional, mental bodies. As everything around us is energy and codes, and you have the opportunity to get control over them, but only through practice you can do it. So the practices with the higher self, communicate with it, sit down and talk inside of yourself, try to make it clear who you are, what you want, what is important for your higher self, make agreements. Then secondly, meditate. Meditate and meditate. Connect. Meditate. Meditate. Meditate like going to a gym. Train, train, train. And integrate this practice on a daily basis, and you'll see how life will change profoundly within even the next 1-2 months. People who fully go into the spiritual practice in combination with their daily lives, magic happens. Which magic that I even saw people who absolutely not planning it, but ready by leading an intense life, especially in the field of business, within 9 months of spiritual work that we did one-on-one, I have some students that have literally connected with their higher self and literally through that experience the first steps of enlightenment. You understand? That it's possible. And maybe one day I'll share with you how many people or how many students around the world with whom I'm connected who have experienced it and already have a connection with their higher self. But that's for another video. For today, please share in the comments how much did you have ever an experience of connecting with higher self and the spirit? Which practices help you to be connected? How you distinguish your soul from the higher self and the spirit? And please ask any question that you feel that will help you to understand this topic better. And the rest, I wish you all a blissful life, moment, and awakening. Namaste, my dear friends. Be happy and be yourself.